If you feel like you're not making progress in saving your marriage, this might be why. In the early part of my career as a licensed therapist, I read every book and attended as many trainings as I could on fixing and mastering relationships. But I didn't have a lot of success in saving couples that came to see me. So this video is about the one skill I learned outside of therapy that helped thousands of men on the journey to get their wives back. Today, I'm going to teach you that skill that, when simply understood, empowers you with the ability to completely be unaffected by any and all of her emotions. Imagine staring at her, and no matter what she's feeling, you have the ability to remain calm, confident, and composed. And not only that, but because steadiness is so profound, she won't even be able to help relaxing to match your energy because you're leading her in that. This is what today's video is going to help you master. You're going to fully understand the most attractive skill in relationships and why it's the missing key to unlock everything you want with her. I will lay out 5 core competencies of masculine integrity designed to help soften her and get her to notice your changes and trust you again. And finally, I will show you how to master your frame with some practical examples that you can take with you and implement as soon as this video is done. For the first principle, let's talk about why masculinity is the missing key. I call it the great filter theory. I want to do a little thought experiment. How is it possible that you can have 2 men? They both pursue a woman at their work. They stalk her social media one day, they bring her flowers, they say she's their favorite, they touch her on the shoulder when they talk to her, right? They both pretty much do the same exact thing, even leaving a note on her car when she goes home. Yet one man is fired for sexual harassment and the other guy starts seeing the woman in a relationship. What is the difference between these 2 guys? By the way, they look exactly the same. The difference is one guy is far more attractive, even with the same looks. See, these men took the same actions on the outside, but got completely different results. And there are 2 reasons as to why that is. Number 1, women can sense intent. See, women have been evolved to understand a man's intent behind his actions, to understand his true core value. You see, because on the outside, a man can fake confidence. He can fake his value. He can wear, watches and cars, but is he truly a masculine, confident man? So women will oftentimes test a guy, and I'll give you that testing framework at the end of this video, by the way, so you know how to pass them. But with those 2 men, the only difference was how they responded to her tests and his internal qualities shown through his nonverbal expressions. You see, here's the thing. We hear so many men that come to us utterly confused when their wives are not happy. She's oftentimes seeing another man, and they think to themselves, what does this guy have that I don't? Men will say, I don't get it. That guy that she's seeing, he doesn't have as much money as I do. He's less attractive. He's just basically, on paper, he has nothing to really offer her. So why is she with him? You see, the internal qualities matter so much more than the external. As a small example, there's been plenty of studies done on this, but one core study showed that when it comes to levels of attraction, they had 3 different groups of men. They had women rate these 3 different groups of guys on attraction level. They had the first group, the guys had a lot of money and they had no ambition, no drive. They were lazy. The second group of guys, they had no money, but a lot of ambition. And the third group had money and ambition. By far, the most attractive groups, it was a tie between 2 groups. The men that had no money and a lot of ambition were equally as attractive as the guys with lots of money and high ambition as well. It is the internal qualities that she's attracted to. Think about it. When she was first with you, you had less money than you do now. You might have been in better shape, sure, but it is the internal qualities of confidence and leadership. And well, I'm going to go over a bunch right now, but you have to just recognize this point before I show you these qualities, that the external things that you have don't matter as much, okay? It is how she feels towards you, and how she feels towards you is dictated by how you show up with her moment by moment with your internal qualities of how you express yourself with her, okay? Through your actions, not what you materially have on paper. The first internal quality is your self-concept. So your self-concept, essentially, it's a lot of different things, but we're gonna just really narrow down on 2 things. It is your values and your boundaries. Your boundaries is where you end and other people begin, right? It is that filter, like when someone knows who you really are, they know what you stand for and what you don't stand for. Those are your boundaries, and they have to be asserted and known for people to respect you, especially the woman that you're with, because a man with weak boundaries feels unstable and she can't feel safe for that man because it's weak, right? Think of all these scaffolding of these strong boundaries. It creates this internal home that she can sit in with you emotionally, feel safe. She needs that. So a man that has suffocating boundaries, that is controlling, or a man that has weak boundaries that are constantly changing to make her happy, she feels unsafe with both those men, okay? Now, the second core tenet of self-concept is your values. Now, your values are those idealistic things that never can really be fully achieved, but they're signposts to really strive for in every decision that you make. So as an example, if you're really struggling with a situation in your life, You look at what values of a man do I want to be in this situation? What does he do? What is a man with heavy compassion, wisdom, integrity, discipline, ambition, confidence? What does that man do in the situation? And it makes it a lot easier because when you're stuck and you're lost, you're not sure where to go or what to do. You look towards those signposts of like, oh, this kind of man that has integrity, he would tell the truth even when it's hard. Or this man that has ambition, he would take that risk despite the fear of failure. So by knowing your boundaries and your values, that alone creates so much inherent value as a man that she is drawn to. The second internal quality is what I call consummate congruency. Now, congruency is the idea that you have full alignment in who you are as a man. Okay, there's macro congruency and micro. Okay, macro congruency is taking those values and matching them or your self-concept with your actions. So if your wife knows that you see yourself as a man that values, let's say, wisdom or integrity, then of course you're going to do what you say you do. And the moment you don't, you are not practicing through consummate congruency. And that lack of congruency or consistency, if you ever heard a woman say, I can't trust you, or you're not consistent, it's because you're lacking congruency. There is not a through line with who you are. You are unpredictable to her. And if you're unpredictable, you are not safe. And if you're not safe, she doesn't want to be with you. Now, the micro level of congruency is simply your thoughts, emotions, and actions are also interlinked. They're interconnected. So an example of this, oftentimes I'll be in a group call with a guy. Okay. And there's someone who, let's say, is really struggling. He's new to the program. So he doesn't understand this concept. And let's say he's talking about his wife and he's like, yeah, you know what? I totally forgive her. Yeah, I don't really care. But then later on, you could tell like while he's saying that, his facial expressions is showing resentment. His tone is really terse. It's like, dude, you are not showing congruency. Own up that you are mad at her for betraying you. Because if you're honest about that, then you can work from that honest place. But by pretending that you're okay, you're not giving yourself self-respect. And that's what causes men to have a lower sense of self-worth. It's to not honor their true thoughts and emotions and feelings and have a through line with those, or also known as congruency. The third internal quality that makes you really valuable, or an apex male, is this assertiveness attribution. Okay. It is kind of adjacent to the idea of congruency, but mostly by going after what you want. Okay. A lot of men struggle to know who they are and what they want. They're two of life's biggest questions that we have to constantly think about day by day. But you would think that a lot of men are 100% certain about wanting their wife back. And yes, they may join the program, but their actions are not fully asserting what they really want. They may self-sabotage. They may do things that really cause them to be just, again, inconsistent. As an example, I was talking to a very successful client the other day, and he said he wanted to win his wife back, but yet he was dating other women, okay? Does that seem like a man who is fully knowing what he wants? You see, he's protecting himself by having a backup plan, but saying he still wants his wife. He is not risking the potential of going all in to fix himself, to be alone, to work on these things, but the reasons why his wife actually moved away from him. Instead, he's jumping to the next woman because he doesn't want to have that void. He wants it full. Right? He doesn't want to have it empty. But by sitting in that emptiness, right, you finally know who you are and what you want because you create space to understand who you are, right? In that space, that allows you to have clarity on what you really want. And when you have clarity on what you truly want, and it is authentic and it is pure, she senses that. And again, it adds to the sense of emotional safety, knowing what you truly want and going for it. The next internal quality is knowing the process versus the outcome. You see a lot of men, they are more outcome oriented when they come into our program. And it makes sense because when you're struggling, you just want your wife back. You want to save your marriage. And I totally get that. But here's the problem. When you put your level of success or your happiness or your internal state or your self-worth on something that is outside of your control fully, what do you think happens? You are living in reaction, right? So because your wife is in her dual mind narrative, which means one day she may give you signs that she's into you. The next day she says she doesn't want to do anything. And it's back and forth in the feminine nature as she is. You're also being thrown around like a leaf in the wind. Okay. So instead, when you focus your growth on the process and you focus on goals within your full control and you fall in love with becoming a better man, no matter what she does or says, you're consistent. And if you're consistent, no matter what test she throws at you, she'll see that you're becoming a better man despite how she views you. And that's what she wants. I want you to see with all these different principles so far, there's a commonality, a common thread. Can't you see it? It is that all of these actions lead to consistency and giving her her biggest desire she has, which is emotional safety. The fifth quality is your frame. So let's talk about it. So what is frame? Well, frame is the dominant lens through which your reality is interpreted. And the reality between two people is set with the person with the strongest conviction, identity, and emotional control in a situation. Or in simpler terms, frame is the mental and emotional leadership of an interaction. It really governs the meaning of what's happening. Okay, so there's one person that always has a stronger frame in any relationship, and they're governing or influencing how the other person is feeling, thinking, and therefore behaving. In relationships, business, social dynamics, the person with the strongest frame wins. Now, why is this important? Well, frame is so important because it sets reality, or what happens. If you believe you are valuable, grounded, calm, others will also adopt your narrative or your story. See, attraction and respect flow towards stronger frames. And women test to see if your internal world, those internal qualities, are stronger than their emotional storms. Because if you are stronger than the test that they throw you, they will trust you. Again, that testing framework will be at the end of this video. Now, leadership depends on this. Frame is what lets you remain the anchor during the chaos. It is a silent message of, I got this. Frame is contagious, and people mirror the emotional state of the person whose frame is the strongest. This is why insecure men become reactive around their wives. The biggest mistakes people make when it comes to frame is that people try to act confident instead of being grounded, right? You can't fake your frame. You see, if your nervous system is dysregulated, pretending to be chill just leaks through with insecurity, okay? In your tone, your eye contact, your micro reactions, you can't fake it, okay? Being overly logical to assert dominance, men often argue that their way into trying to win the frame, but emotional congruence always trumps logic. You see, frame is felt, not proven through debate. So you cannot fake it. This is why no matter what logic you try to do is show her that the marriage should stay together, it doesn't work. Okay? Frame, by the way, isn't controlling others. It's controlling yourself. If you need someone to behave a certain way for you to feel stable, you don't have a frame. They do. Okay? You see, when women express fear, anger, doubt, weakness, a weak man becomes defensive, needy, and apologetic. Frame means staying connected to your truth without getting sucked into hers. A frame requires clarity in what you want and who you are, which is why we talked about that earlier. And if you don't know what you stand for, you'll fall for everything, right? Including validation, people-pleasing tendencies, or drama. So let's talk about how to develop a stronger frame. Now, there's almost an infinite amount of ways to really create a stronger frame, but I will give you the top ways that I've seen in over 15 years of doing this, okay? Number one is that iron sharpens iron. Oftentimes, you need to be challenged. You know, you're around people that are your friends. Maybe some people challenge you a little bit, but ultimately at the end of the day, you have blind spots and you need to be seen what those blind spots are and be called out. Now, a lot of men with weak egos, they don't want that. But if you truly want to grow, create a stronger frame, create a sense of reality where not only is your wife attracted to you and drawn to you, but everyone is, then it's going to hurt because you have to really shave off these parts of you that push other people away. And that's what being in a community of other men does. Also, speaking with experts who have seen the same patterns over and over again. Every guy's situation is unique, 1000%. But oftentimes those blind spots, it is so easy, it's just pattern recognition. That's why all of our coaches, thousands and thousands of clients over the years, seriously, thousands of clients, it is so obvious what we could see within a couple of minutes. This is what's happening. This is what you need to do. So if you want the opportunity to join a community of other men who will challenge you and within minutes have an expert point out those blind spots in you, you can set up a free call with our marriage evaluators by clicking the link down below. Just make sure you're fully committed and invested to making that change. Now, all the internal qualities I talked about, getting your values stronger, understanding how to pass tests, which is at the end of this video, those will all also help you with your frame, okay? But I would say more than anything, what helps with frame the strongest is through this story. I remember I had the weakest frame you could, I know I seem confident on camera, right? And I've been doing this for a long time, and I am confident if you met me in person, but I wasn't always like that. I was the most insecure, shy, I couldn't look at a person in the eyes. And I remember I was in high school and college, I had pretty much only 2 friends that I stuck to, and in social situations, such heavy social anxiety, okay? And then 1 year later, everything flipped, and I was just drawing people into me. And the only thing I did was I set a purpose higher than myself. You see, I found a calling, something that I wanted to get into grad school, to pursue this, to save marriages, all the way back when I was 23 years old, 24 years old. And that's what drove me. So when I went to social situations, that's what I wanted to talk about. I wanted to talk about social dynamics, about relationships, about love. And that's what drove me. And if people don't want to talk about that, fine, they're lost, go away, right? Not in a mean way, but I just found something higher than myself. You see, and that's what's charismatic. And most of them we talk to, when they first meet their wife, when they first fall in love, they were really just living close to God in the sense that they were just authentic with who they were and what they wanted in life, that clarity we talked about. And they had a purpose higher than their wife. And just over the years, they become so dependent on her that they lost who they were. They sacrifice their soul in that process. And so getting yourself back, not only will it get her back, but it gets your soul back. And I don't say that lightly, okay? So when you're able to do that, that is the work. Because it's not what you get by achieving your goals, but who you become in the process, all right? Here's that video on tests. I'd highly recommend you check that one out. Again, you can set up a call with our team down below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.